CMPRadio.net. It's the station.
Come and take away.
CMPRadio.net, man, it's your boy Uncle P, and we are live from the Cultivating Mature Positivity Studios, and I have a very special guest. Right now, everybody knows it's voting season, it's silly season, it's let's throw mud, let's throw ducks, let's throw crackers. This is what happens during election season. Election season, this is the primary for the city of Chester, and it's a big voting situation, right? We're voting for the future of the city. We're voting for mayor. We have two council. Damn, that's it. We have two council seats up for yeah, that's what's going to happen, right? CMPRadio.net. I'm sorry. Right, that's what happens. Anyway, I have the mayor of the city of Chester, man, Mayor Thaddeus Kirkland. How you doing, Mayor? How you feeling?
I feel wonderful. And first of all, thank you for having me, but I'm trying to figure this out.
Right.
Do I, since I'm older, just a little bit older than you, I'm trying to figure out, do I call you Jean-Pierre or do I call you Uncle P?
You can call me Jean-Pierre.
Okay.
Right? Because I'm not your uncle. Right. You've been my uncle for years. You watched me come up. You know my mother. You know my family. Right. So I just wanna give you your flowers, man, because you are the ranking oldest, not old as far as age, but as far as experience wise. Right. You have the most experience when it comes to politics. You're what, 30, 31, 33 years.
I've been blessed now, going on 32 years.
Yes.
Being involved in the political realm, which has put me in a position to help a lot of people,
right,
help a lot of businesses, and to get the point of Chester across. So I've been blessed.
Absolutely. So before you were, so let's do it like this. State rep, the first time you ever ran for state rep, who was running against you?
That's a good question. When I ran for state rep, I can't remember, Carolyn Saunders was her name. Carolyn Saunders ran against me in the primary. Well, we ran against each other because it was our first time up running for state rep. I was able to win the state rep primary, and then there was a longtime sheriff. Wow, I can't even remember his name. That's how long it's been.
Right.
But it was a sheriff who was the county who had the most votes ever in the county, and I ran against him and I prevailed. That was a great feeling, but it was also an awesome weight that was placed on the shoulder because I realized, wow, I just became the state rep. Now what?
Now, before you took that seat, who was in that seat before you?
Before I took the seat, Bob Wright was in the seat. The late Robert Wright, Judge Wright, who was a good friend and a good mentor.
Right. So you get into the seat, state rep, and I think, what year was that?
Wow, that was 1993.
1993.
It was 1993.
It was around the same time Westinghouse was here for Covanta.
Same time.
How did you feel about Covanta in the beginning?
Well, they weren't Covanta.
They were Westinghouse.
They were Westinghouse, and it was somebody else prior to them. But the situation was this: they were terrible. I mean, we would go down there. You could see rats the size of cats. I mean, really, because one day, Reverend Strand came to a council meeting, and we were like just up in arms about the conditions down there that Westinghouse had going on down there. And he literally reached into a big bag that he had. Thank God he had a glove on, and he pulled out a rat the size of a cat at a county council meeting.
Wow, that's crazy. So 1993, man, all the things that you have done, all the things that you have seen, why leave the state rep's office to become the mayor of the city of Chester?
Many persons have asked me the same thing because it's almost like they consider it going backwards. And in a sense, it is. I did. I went backwards because I wanted to come back home. I wanted to come back home to make a difference in my community. Right. I've lived here all my life. I've raised my children here. Many folks in the community know my kids. Now I'm helping to raise my grandkids here. My family is from here. My church is here. The church that my dad started way back in the early '60s is right here. And so I wanted to come back home to make a positive impact on the lives of the people that I serve. I felt within my heart, and I still do within my heart, that I can do more by making my presence here known and being able to have a closer connect with the residents.
Right. So we have a ton of questions. I just wanted to talk to you about how you got started and what drove you to want to run for state rep back then?
People.
And is that passion still in you right now?
It is. It is. The passion is still there. If the passion wasn't there, I wouldn't be running now. I would have been stepped to the side and just went on and did something else, retired or went fishing or something. But the passion is still there. And what drove me then is the same thing that drives me now. I have a passion working with young people and making sure that education is a priority. You know, a lot of folks always say, you know, our kids need jobs, our kids need this, our kids need that. Our kids can get anything they want as long as they got an excellent education. The sky is the limit. So that passion is still there. My daughter, one of my daughters, used to do some things after school with kids, and she said, "Dad, they can't read." I said, "What are you going to do?" She said, "Dad, they can't write." I said, "What are you going to do?" She said, "Dad, they're struggling with math." I said, "What are you going to do?" And she finally got it. And so what did she do? She became a teacher. Right. What did my other daughter do? She became a teacher. They became teachers because they followed in the footsteps of their grandmother, their aunts, and they began becoming a part of the solution and not a part of the problem. And that's what drives me, being a part of the solution.
Of the solution and not a part of the problem. This is the first time you have run for mayor and been opposed in quite some time. How does it feel? Does it feel different? Is it getting your juices running, right? To actually be running against someone?
Well, it's a different feeling. It does have it puts the juices in a different perspective, because that someone that is running against me is, it's one thing, and that's one thing I've always done. Whenever I run for office, I've always run on what I'm going to do or what I've done. I'm never going out and try to attack anybody and say this, that, the other. Never try to attack anybody's family, say this, that, and the other. I've always focused on the issues. And I'm going to do the same thing now. That's why I've been so successful, because I focus on the issues and the needs of the folks. And as long as you focus on the issues and the needs, and then you accomplish the goals that you set out, you're good. So I feel good, I'm excited, and I'm looking forward to this.
You're running for re-election when most think you should give up. Why are you running?
Well, I'm running because the work's not done yet. Watch this. And I'm running also so the others don't come in and claim the wealth that is embedded in this community. there's an awful lot of work still to be done. We've brought businesses in. We've brought crime down by, violent crime down by 67%. We brought other crime down, gun violence down by 54%. We got communities outside of the city of Chester coming to us and saying, how'd you do it? We've, like I said, we brought the business, the industries here. Downtown is now flourishing. And we got $55 million invested now at our soccer stadium. Yeah. Just when the city is about to explode in a very positive way financially, others want to use other people so they can, that don't want to use other people so that they can come in and take away the wealth that Chester so rightly deserved and has earned. I'm running so that doesn't happen.
I remember a time when you were state rep, when you were fighting, and you were fighting against the Republican Party. You were just trying to get people that were alongside of you, but on the Democratic Party, into offices, in the city council, into mayoral seats. When you took over the city of Chester, the Republican Party just went away. Do you think they're really gone, or are they?
I'm listening. I'm sorry.
Do you think they're really gone, or have they just come under the cover of other things?
They reinvented themselves. Oh. They really reinvented themselves. They can't run out here and be the Republican Party of Donald Trump. Right. They realize that Trump has destroyed the party, but he has a great influence over them. Yes, he does. And so they had to be like chameleons. They had to change. And so that's what they did. One of my opponents, I know, look, he changes like he changes socks. So he was never a real Democrat or supported the democratic issues or values. But now all of a sudden he wants everybody to think that he's a Democrat. They just changed. That's all. They took off that red suit and they put on a blue one.
Covanta pays $5 million a year to the budget. How do you feel about talks of shutting them down or getting them to move? Do you feel as though there are things in place that could use that land, if that land, even with Delcor being right next to it, right? If that land became available, do you see a business that would want to go there and contribute the same amount of money?
Let me back up, because we talked about Westinghouse. Yeah. And Westinghouse was a mess. Right. It was a complete, total mess to this city. They didn't appreciate this community. They didn't respect this community. And back then, we were down there fighting them tooth and nail, jumping in front of the trucks and going to court and telling them to get out, which we should have been doing. Fast forward, Covanta comes in, and Covanta says, you know what? We got to be neighbors, good neighbors and good partners. How do we do that? How do we do that? We do that by making sure the DEP and the EPA rules are followed and their regulations are followed. We do that by putting Chester residents in position to inspect and find out exactly what our missions are and what we're doing and what our mission is. We do that by giving back to the community in so many various ways. They have been one of the true partners in this community. We are still, and this is what folks don't understand, if you take Sunoco out of Marcus Hook, ghost town. You take Monroe Energy out of Trainer, you got a ghost town. If you take both Covanta and Delcor, and there's another industry down there, out of the city of Chester, then we become a ghost town. Right. So what you do is you make them follow the proper rules and regulations. You make them clean up their act. You make them clean up their air. We have down there already, like I said before, $55 million investment coming with the Philadelphia Union. Right. So if they're willing to spend $55 more million on top of the millions they've already spent in building up a stadium and other areas, then guess what? We're going to be able to bring back, because at one point in time we were going to build condos down there, and then the housing stock tanked. Right. We're still talking to those same persons who are now ready to have those conversations again, regardless of the Cavantas and the Delcors and the Sunocos and the Monroe Energies.
Liquefied natural gas has been a big thing right now. I'm good with, Circle, Ms. Lynn Mayfield. How do you feel about them coming to Chester?
I met with the members of who wanted to bring liquefied natural gas here to the city of Chester, as I do every industry. No matter who it is, I will sit down with folks, I'll talk with them, I'll hear their plans, and I'll share with them my thoughts and my ideas, and whether we're going to continue to move forward with them or not. If they're not a good industry or not a good fit for the city, I'll let them know you're not a good fit. If they come and they want to talk about their industry, I also let them know that we're looking at other industries in that same area. So, liquefied natural gas is a huge industry, global industry, that would create about 400 jobs, permanent jobs, that would provide Chester, the city of Chester, with a financial windfall. But that's just one. And like I said, we've had those conversations. What folks don't know, the conversations I've had are conversations like the ones I'm having with the 76ers. Right now, while Chinatown is battling and saying, we don't want you in Chinatown, almost a month ago, or approximately 1 month ago, I sent the 76ers a letter saying, if they don't want you in Chinatown, we'd love to have you right here in the city of Chester, in the same area where we're talking about where the liquefied gas would have been. So as a mayor, you have to always be able to evolve and look at what's going to be best for your community. How do you get your community on solid financial footing? And that's what I've been doing. I just don't commit to just anything, but I do it by way of conversations with those persons who want to bring those industries here. And then I'll bring in the rest of the team and say, come on, let's talk about this and see what's best. And then you bring in the community and say, this is a concept. What do you think about it? But it has to be community, because some people who no longer live here or who never lived here will always want to tell you what's best for you. That's not fair.
Chester Water Authority. Everybody was big on you saying you wanted to sell Chester Water Authority. I don't think that's what you said, but that's how people took it. That's how, How do you feel about them, and what do you feel they owe the city of Chester and its residents?
First of all, I made it clear, and I had to call the Daily Times and correct them, and then they corrected it on their digital paper, but they didn't correct it on their paper,
right.
Regular paper.
Right.
I never said that I wanted to sell the authority. I said, first of all, we have to see exactly what the courts say. Does Chester own it, or does the Water Authority own itself? The court said the city of Chester owns the authority. So then we started looking at ways. I sat down with Mr. Frank Catania, executive director of Chester Water Authority. 2.5 years. 2.5 years, we went over some plans, some ideas, and we got to that point where it would yield. We got to a point where the plan, and I'll share that with you. I want you to see it so you can see it for yourself. I can't allow you to take it away, but I want you to see it for yourself so you can be able to come back on your show and be able to tell them, I saw the plan. Right. It's real. I sat down with Mr. Frank Catania. In 2.5 years, we worked on this plan, and we came up with this idea that the city would receive X amount of money, a lump sum of money, to help deal with the pension debt. Matter of fact, to deal with the pension debt. Then over a period of years, we would receive money on an annual basis, because the Water Authority stopped giving money to the city as soon as Democrats got in office. And they were giving them about $5 million annually. We worked out a plan that over a period of years, the Water Authority would give them money, give the city a certain amount of money annually till they got to almost $400 million. Right. So we've had a plan, we worked on that plan. The other side of that plan was, if in fact we were unable to work out a deal with the Water Authority, we talked about the monetization, the selling of the Water Authority, and what that would bring into this city. Our whole goal was this: how do we save the city of Chester and its citizens? So I'm looking at both plans. We prepared 2 plans, if not 3. But we prepared these plans, and then the court cases came and kind of shut everything down. But just to be clear, myself and others were the only persons who met with Mr. Catania on a regular, trying to find solutions so that the Water Authority can stay in place.
The Stormwater Authority, I said when it happened, I said this is a brainchild of the Democratic Party, right? Trying to come out and do the same thing that the Republican Party has done, created authorities that serve them. Right now they're talking about, what is it, $18,000 a year for each member, $6,000, 3-hour meetings. Explain what the Stormwater Authority is doing and how that benefits the community.
You know, you know what? I should have been here a long time.
You should have. I told you, but
I know. I'm apologize.
Right.
To
That's
you,
so. Don't apologize to me.
Uncle Pete.
This is to the people,
I
bro.
apologize to you and to the people. I should have been here a long time ago.
Yes, you should have.
Been a little busy, but let me say this: stormwater authorities throughout this country were created by the local legislature.
Okay.
Not by me, not by any mayor, but they're stormwater authorities throughout. I had a lady, an elderly lady, come in, and she was upset from Delaware, and she said, and she owned property here in Chester. I'm not paying any stormwater authority fees because I'm just not doing it. I don't have to pay it in Delaware. I said, ma'am, you do. And then I pulled it up and showed her. I said, this is right here, the Stormwater Authority of Wilmington, Delaware. You pay those. And they were created to help alleviate stormwater. Stormwater can destroy your property. Stormwater can destroy your infrastructure. Stormwater can destroy your water if not properly treated. Right. And so by creating the Stormwater Authority here in Chester, because you're a little younger than me, like I said, there used to be under the bridge, overpass, right around 7th and Lamoken. And when we were kids, that water would get so deep, we would get on top of the train trestle, the overpass, and we would dive into the water. Because that's how deep that water was. And it would flood out every time it rained. Memorial Park, folks keep saying, Memorial Park doesn't flood out. It doesn't flood out there.
And it floods out.
Go out to Memorial Park after one of those torrential rains and see how much water is out there. Stormwater authorities were created so they can alleviate those problems. Folks don't have to, their basements don't have to get flooded. The library basement doesn't have to get flooded. Right. And so they were created to alleviate a problem. They were also created to provide job opportunities to many of our young men and women. I'm not sure, but if I was a betting man, I would bet you that in Delaware County or throughout Pennsylvania, this is probably the only stormwater authority that has hired all black and brown persons. Black and brown persons. And it's the first authority that was created that the executive director and all of its employees are black and brown people. Now, you know how hard it was for us to get on the Chester Water Authority years and years ago. You know how hard, you had to be a certain party, and you had, well, I'll stop right there.
Right. You have, you've done some things that people don't necessarily agree with. The Parking Authority. People saw that as a move that benefited nobody but you. Explain the deal with the Parking Authority.
Let me explain that to you, because we had been talking about the Parking Authority. When I say we, I mean myself and the administration, for quite some time. We got calls from elderly persons in what's that, Sun Hill area where Widener University is. We got calls from elderly persons that are saying, look, every time I come home, a student is in my handicapped parking space, or someone is blocking my driveway, and I got to get out the car 3 and 4 blocks away from my very own home, and I got to walk the streets at night and try to get to my home safely. We've gotten people call from Nova Vista, and they call us and say, I got everybody who works at Crozier Hospital parking in our neighborhood. We don't have any place to park. And even downtown, folks, and they're doing it even more now, they're parking not 2 wheels on the curb, 4 wheels completely on the curb, what does that do? It destroys your infrastructure. So we wanted to find out, how can we put something in place, just like every other town and borough that's surrounding us, just like Marcus Hook, parking meters, just like Trainer, parking meters, just like any other area, media, parking meters. And we wanted to take the chaos out of parking and put some calm in it. And so we went about the task of putting out an RFP. We went about the task of identifying a company. Then we found out the company in Harrisburg wasn't a good fit for us. And so we pulled back, and then we found the company. We went forward with it to put in place a parking authority. Now, what gets me, because I love my city. I love my city and I love my people. But everything cannot be free. People will get upset, even at me, because they say, well, you put a parking meter down there and I had to pay $35 because I got a ticket. I go to Philly, I park in the lot in Philly, $28, 1 hour, no complaints. I go to Philly, I looked around, I went to park my car, and I said, okay, let me park here. This is a good place to park. I come back outside, a $301 ticket on my car. You know
parked
why?
in a handicap spot.
And guess where the handicap?
I just got one of those the other day.
Guess where the handicap placard was?
On the wall.
About 6 miles.
I said, why don't you just paint the ground blue, right? Yeah, same complaint.
And guess what I did? I said, you know what?
Got to pay it.
Got to pay it.
Right.
So I went and did it. It now, if you look at our parking situation now people are parking downtown, catching the train to Philly, and their cars are parked there from 8 o'clock in the morning to 5 o'clock at night. That's not fair to the city of Chester.
It's not. I said maybe parking. Just a little bit cheaper. 50 cents for an hour, right? I think it was too much. But then we go back to the point of the city wasn't seeing any of that money. The company was, and then they gave you a donation to your campaign.
Watch this. Before I get to the campaign piece, the city was saying the city was supposed to bring in about $1 million from the door. Right. A portion of that was paid, about $300,000 of that was paid to the city from the door, because they put all this equipment and everything in place.
Right. That's all I'm out there working.
Yep. And then the lawsuits came about. When Widener took us to court, took the authority to court, it kind of shut everything down, because we had everything mapped out for a 10-year period of time. First year, we get maybe 10%. Second year, maybe 20%. It goes all the way up to 10 years. The fifth year, we get 50% of the gross net, the gross monies that are coming into the authority. And then after 10 years, we own the authority. We own the authority. We own everything about the authority. It was Chester's completely. This all came about by way of the lawsuits. It slowed everything down. It put everything on hold. As far as my campaign, I have people from all walks of life. Somebody just wrote me a check. I don't know who it was. It was a significant check, and it bounced. I'm trying to find out who it was. It wasn't no little check. Right. It was a big check. Right. And it bounced. I'm like, oh, okay. Now who? And I don't have any idea who they are. Right. But I have folks that want to give to my campaign, whether they're friend or foe. And some monies I can take, some monies I can't. Right. The authority, one of the gentlemen I knew in the authority, Ivan, a classmate of mine, that's the one I went to talk to about the authority. He's a lobbyist, he's a lawyer. He and I talked about parking in Chester, and I said, I need your help. So when folks give to my campaign, and that's what they're giving to, my campaign, they're not giving nothing to me. To you, right. But they're giving to my campaign, and I don't hide anything. All my campaign records are public records. Anybody can go and check the record and see who is given to me. I give to me. My wife gives to me. My daughters give to me. We make it like a family affair when it comes to giving to me. But that's what campaigns are based on, building relationships. And sometimes when you build relationships, they like the relationship they're in, and they want to be supportive.
You promised to bring violent crimes down. How did you do it?
Well, and that's one thing a lot of folks will tell you, don't make promises that you can't keep. And the one promise I made, I said, if I was elected mayor, I would bring crime down by 50%. Well, I wasn't quite truthful with that. I brought it down by 54%. And I brought violent crime down by 67%. And I did it, it wasn't me, it was just me, it was my administration, it was the partnerships that we developed with many of the groups that work with young people here in the city, with many of the religious groups that work with young people and adults in the city. I did it by working with Mr. Eric Bain, my director, that deals with, and this is a great thing about Eric, that deals with expungement of records. Once some person's record is cleaned up, they don't want to dirty it no more. They finally got all that stuff out of their life, and they don't want to dirty it no more.
They don't want no more smoke.
And he's the director of workforce development. He has been a godsend, and we do it free. And so it's been a collaboration of working with also the DA's office and others, and then having a police commissioner that doesn't mind getting his hands dirty, or doesn't mind getting out there with the kids and talking to them, or even hiring them to work so that they don't find themselves on the street creating crime. So it's a collaboration. There's so many groups here in the city. I don't want anybody to think that we did this by ourselves, but when I start naming them, I'm gonna forget somebody, and whoever I forget, I'm gonna get a phone call right after I get off the show.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But it's a collaboration of people and their organizations that make the difference here in this community. And the great part about it was when the folks from Philly came down and said, we want to talk to y'all. We want to find out how y'all did it. What did y'all do? And when we started explaining to them how we partnered up with so many different groups, and we did it one block at a time. Someone might say, well, this is Chester, it's not as big as Philly. Well, maybe Chester is as big as West Philly or part of West Philly. Then start there. And then mushroom, work our way out.
Absolutely. Chester has been on the decline for the last, I say, 60, 70 years, right? It started to happen. White flight started to happen. The schools started to change. People started to leave the school district. The buildings that are in the city are in decay. What is your plan to fix the community, to bring the community back, to have people hoping again and seeing their children go on to do great things?
Bring in people who care about Chester and who have a sincere desire and will to invest in Chester. Sacred Heart Hospital, the old Sacred Heart Hospital, it lay dormant for decades. Lay dormant. But meeting with the two good doctors, Dr. Lee and Dr. Wang, a husband and wife team, bringing them to Chester. I went to Upper Darby. They had a place in Upper Darby, and I went there. And I saw their facility in Upper Darby. It was a small facility. And I said, I need you to come to Chester. I need to show you something. Dr. Lee and Dr. Wang came down to Chester, and they saw Sacred Heart Hospital. And they didn't see an abandoned, dilapidated building. They saw a business that was booming. And that's what they created at that old Sacred Everest Care. Downtown Chester, you got many buildings. It's a building right here that we're in. You guys have turned this building around. This was a place where I used to come and to rent equipment for my cultural festivals and everything.
Right. Shout out to Devin Walls.
Yeah, it was shout out to Devin Walls. It was shuttered,
Right.
It was closed up. First time I've been in here since that time. And I walked in and I said, okay, this is what Chester's about. When you get folks that are committed and dedicated, not only just to spend their money into the city of Chester, but invest their time, their sweat, and their tears into our community. Downtown Chester is growing faster than everyone. The last business, real business that left Chester, in Wilmington, Collars and Cuffs. I was so mad, Collars and Cuffs. I'm going back. The matter of fact, I've already had this conversation with Scott down at Collars and Cuffs. Right. I said, look, you need to come on back home and have a Collars and Cuffs too, right, in downtown Chester.
Absolutely. You
know, DTLR, your Little Beats investing in Chester. That's how you turn your city around. Absolutely. You paint a vision and a picture of positivity, not talking about, oh, the city trashy, they're killing each other, they're talking about each other, they hate each other. No. You paint a picture of positivity and encourage and share that picture with others and encourage them to come and see through your eyes what you're seeing. That's what was missing for so long. I try to encourage people to see through my eyes because they say, well, you could have been left Chester. I said, I have no desire. Matter of fact, some people say I live someplace else anyway. But I have no desire to leave my community because I know it's a gold mine. Not a gold mine for me to get my pockets fat or anything like that, but a gold mine for my grandkids to grow up in a community where they can have fun, where they can sit on their porches, where they can go into the parks, where they don't have to talk about, I can't walk to this side of town because I'm beefing with this one or because of social media. No, but to be able to look one another in the eye. I look at the Boys and Girls Club, and I look how they have transformed the lives of so many of these young people. So we're sitting on a gold mine. All we have to do now is polish it.
Right. I think, I said when you first spoke about the person you replaced as a state rep, that's my cousin, right?
All right. Okay.
Yeah, Bob Wright was my cousin. You talking about the positivity that flows through. That's what CMP brings, right? So when we first opened up, I wanted to talk to you. I wanted you to come through. It didn't go the way we wanted it to go, but, we didn't had another meeting later on, and I said, pull the radio station up and talk. Do a show weekly, right? Talk about what you're doing for the community so the people can see it, the people can hear it. What goes on in this community is a veil in front of you and the community, and they don't know what goes on behind that veil. It's like the Wizard of Oz, But for you to be in this city for as long as you've been in this city and you see what needs to happen and what needs to change, what are you really doing, right? We're going to talk about the receiver, but what are you really doing to make sure this happens for us, right? And the opportunities are there.
What I'm doing is this. I'm doing a number of things. I go back to education. We just started, well, we didn't just start it because we had it at the church, the after school program. Have an after school program right downtown, 401 Avenue Estates. Retired educators, which I don't believe that's a reality. There's no such thing as a retired educator, but they like to call themselves that. Retired educators working with kids, feeding kids, tutoring kids after school for free. We don't charge. We don't do anything. All we tell them is drop them off and pick them up. And when they go with a full stomach, and they go with so much wisdom and knowledge, and they share that with their parents. That's some of the things that we're doing as an elected official. As an elected official in past times, well, and now too, but not as much as I did in the past time, I would shut my office down on Fridays. Every Friday.
Pastor, whom you've been at odds with, right? Or it is said that you are at odds with him. You said you called him a racial slur, right? He said your team is hard to work with. And you're actually taking the bankruptcy thing to the Supreme Court? So let's explain. Let's talk about the receiver and the things that we're doing to either work against him because what you believe he's not. You believe he doesn't see what you see, and he's not willing to work the way you're willing to work, or what is it? What's going on with that relationship?
I'm not working against the receiver. We might see things differently. Yeah. If you notice, when the receiver first came, there were many things that we worked together on. We reshaped the way our departments are. Right. He said, He said, let's redo this, right. And we did it. We reshaped some salaries. We did it. There's an awful lot that we work with in our capacity as mayor and receiver together. Nobody talks about that. We've broken bread together. Do we agree on everything? No. Look, I'm in a household with all women. We don't agree on everything.
You don't.
But we do the one thing we do agree on is that there's a need in the household, there's a need in the community, and how do we work to make sure we meet that need? Not my ego. I saw someone say, come to a council meeting and basically said, it can't be your way all the time. It's not my way all the time. It will never be my way all the time. I work for the people in this community. The receiver and I have our indifferences. We are in court because, quite frankly, that's what courts are for. They're there to solve problems and indifferences and say, okay, you got to do it this way. We talked about bankruptcy. I'm not against his will to file for bankruptcy, Chapter 9. My problem was the way we went about it. And the way we went about it, after meeting with all of these retirees and some still workers, and saying, you know what, we're not there yet. We just want to give you a heads up about bankruptcy and the possibilities. We're not there yet. And then less than 24 hours, we're there. That was the problem I had. I don't know, bankruptcy is a difficult time. I remember when I was younger, I was young in my marriage. I went through bankruptcy. It's a very difficult time, and it takes time to get out of. Yes, it does. By the grace of God, we did.
Right.
So I understand that. It was just the process. Will we work together? Can we work together in the future? We have to. That's what I tell people. Think of it like this. We're all in the water. We're on a boat, and you pedaling one way and I'm pedaling one way, but the shore is way over there. Mm-hmm. And that's where we're trying to get to. Right. And we can't get to that shore if we don't start saying, okay, let's put our oars in the water. Let's point the boat in a direction, and in the right direction, and let's start pedaling towards shore. Now, when we get there, it wasn't my idea, it wasn't your idea, but it was our idea to work together so that we can get to the shore with the rest of the crew.
Absolutely. Man, let's talk about, you answered that next question, right? The pension plan. Why is it so much of our budget? And did you just say fuck paying? I'm sorry for cursing. Did you just say forget paying the pension plan for the last 3 years?
No. I would never say that.
Okay.
I would never say that, nor would I ever do that. Once again, it's an inheritance.
Right.
I got the can.
Right.
I got the can that has been kicked down. And when I got the can, and I finally started looking at the can, because I was there, I'm looking at him, I said, wait a minute, whoa. I found myself on the pension board. And we're looking, and I said, wow, $10,000, $11,000. This is what some retirees were getting a month.
A month.
I said, who did this?
Right.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
And so my thing was, and this is one of the things I wanted to ask the receiver, who did this? I think it's important that we find out the root of this problem.
Who set this up?
Yeah.
And why
who
was it
set us up?
Right.
And I watched them, and you remember now, when I came on, The following year, 25 police officers retired.
Tired. Boom, we out of here.
Gone. And I'm like, okay, what have they given me? What's going on with this? 25 police officers retired with huge pensions. We started, when we picked up the ball and we started seeing what the problem was, we began the process of correcting it. This is why I went to Harrisburg. I said, you know what? Our problem is a pension problem. If I can go to the right persons and talk to the appropriations chair and talk to the Speaker of the House and talk to the appropriations chair in the Senate and the House and talk to different legislators and say, listen, there's an $8 billion surplus rainy day fund, the largest rainy day fund we've ever had in the history of the Commonwealth. There's no way you guys and ladies can sit up here in Harrisburg and allow Chester to sink because of pension, especially a pension problem that I never created.
Right.
And so the goal now is to step beyond that and find out how we correct it. For some strange reason, they won't say who started it.
Why would they?
I don't know. I guess they're hiding somebody or some bodies, but they won't say who started this problem and who created this monster. But guess what? I have to bear the brunt of it because it's on my watch now, and now it has to be cleaned up. And the sad part is that you have young officers whose pensions will now be affected, and you have young officers who are leaving the city of Chester because of this pension problem that they didn't create. Somehow, some way, it's my hope that I don't know if we're gonna end up back in court, but somehow, some way, it has to be fixed. The president of the state FOP, he came out with that, and he knows. That's the crazy part. They know. They know more than I know when it comes to who created this problem, because they know who benefited from it. And I do want to say something about the N-word, because the president of FOP made it clear that he wanted to address that. This is something, first of all, the word came out 400 years ago. I didn't create it. I ain't know nothing about it. I wasn't born 400 years ago. Mm-hmm. But it came out 400 years ago, and it didn't come out from anybody that looked like you or I. But we became that word. Right. That was 400 years ago. Today, every time you turn your TV on, there it is. I made that comment to him 2.5 years ago. The following, but because I felt insulted. The following week, I apologized. Nobody has ever apologized to me for calling me that. I apologized. But instead, it's been flipped around and said, oh, you called me that, I'm like, come on. And the other thing is, it's not racial. If you and I call each other that, it's not racial.
I don't say that's not a racial insult to me.
It's not a racial insult. Now, if another person that does not look like you and I call us that,
it's a racial insult.
Then it's a racial insult.
Absolutely.
And I mean, come on, we're grown people. We big guys. We big boys. I mean, you go through something and then you move on. But some people want to hang on to dumb stuff for whatever reason. Now, here is the president of the FOP. Now, probably white, a police officer. You gonna tell me that the president of the FOP, while arresting somebody that looks like us, has never, ever used that word? I mean, you're not gonna tell me, but
no, I'm not.
I'm just throwing it out there.
No. You have struck a chord with a lot of people in the community. You have a smacking the phone situation. Your time is up. Not today. You come off very proud, right? And some people can see this as an ego situation. Can you explain how you feel when these situations are taking place, or you feel as though you're being attacked? Like, I need you to explain the phone slapping situation.
I'll explain it all, and just so folks understand, never proud, always passionate.
Okay.
Always passionate. I'll always be passionate when it comes to my community. I'll always be passionate when it comes to my politics. I'll always be passionate. That situation, and I hope they go, see, people like to just smooth over, go halfway through. That situation came about when they were protesting, I guess, against Cabanda. And I saw one young lady that I know. Matter of fact, I just helped a young lady get a job at the hotel. I know her mother. I know her grandmother. We all grew up, all my kids grew up with their kids. We all grew up together. And I was talking to her, and the gentleman came over and he had the phone in my face. And I said, no, let's not do that. And I asked him 3 or 4 times, I said, let's not do that. And he puts the phone closer to my face. That's when I slapped the phone out of his hand. The phone goes over my head and goes behind me, and I see nothing. Evidently, I'm told that the phone had hit the little girl or young lady in the mouth, right in the mouth. And so I turned around to say to her, my apologies. She had went into the house. I tried to talk to her mom, but didn't get that conversation. This gentleman went down at the end of the protest and told everybody, I just slapped 2 women. I got that on film. He said he slapped, and the person asked him 3 times, are you sure? He said, yes, I'm sure that Mayor Thaddeus Kirkland just slapped 2 women. I said, oh my goodness. Now watch this. I'm not sure how ironic this is. When I went to Harrisburg to visit the appropriations chair, his chief of staff with the father of that little girl, the father of that young lady. He said, Mayor, can I speak to you? And we sat down for about 20 minutes. And when we got finished talking, we embraced. He understood. He saw the lies and everything else. Matter of fact, he already knew before. And he says, the possibility of me reaching, because I like I said, I know the young lady. And then I found out her mom had a physical condition not too long ago. But he and I talked in Harrisburg. These are the things people don't know.
Right.
And he has a better understanding. I would never. I got 5 daughters. I have 5 daughters and a wife, a mother-in-law. I would never, ever assault any young person, any old person. I'm passionate. And then come to find out, I wish he would have had it on. Come to find out, the gentleman that was recording forgot to push the recording button. So when he went out to the DA's office to show them the film, he couldn't even show them the film because he never pushed the recording button.
Wow. I
wish he would have, but he never did. But he goes around saying those things. I'm passionate.
Right.
I'm passionate about everything I do. I'll never be proud. I'll never be cocky, but I'll always be honest. I'll always stand for what I believe is right. Just like recently. Recently, Fox News comes into City Hall.
Absolutely.
After the fact, we were there talking about lead paint, a lead paint program that was going to be great for the city. The county health department was with us. Children's Choice or Children's First group was with us. We just had a beautiful press conference talking about getting the lead paint out of our homes in the city of Chester and the partnership working together. As we're finishing up our press conference, in walks my opposition. He's a councilman. He was over the health department. Matter of fact, he was supposed to speak at the press conference, but they walk in at the very end. Prior to him, before he walks in, the folks look at me because somebody from the city had to say something about the lead program, and I did. So it was a very good press conference. And then everyone's leaving, and in comes Fox News and the council person. And they said, Mayor, can we ask you a couple questions about the lead program? I said, sure. And that's exactly what they did. They asked me 2 questions about the lead program, and then they said, and the city of Chester is filthy, isn't it? I said, what? Excuse me? I said, no, the city of Chester is not filthy. I said, we're doing everything we can to clean it. He said, and the crime here is just off the chain. I said, no. And he was very aggressive. And that's why I said they didn't show the whole thing. I said, no, crime is down. Violent crime is down 6-7%. I don't know what you're talking about. Well, businesses are leaving the city. I'm like, where's this coming from? And I was telling the gentleman, I said, no, all your information is wrong. So finally, my communications director saw where this was going, and she said, okay, Mayor, this press conference is over. First of all, they were late. As I'm trying to leave out, they're blocking the door. And I'm still smiling. That's the whole thing. They didn't get all the smiles. I'm still smiling. But then they started verbally disrespecting my communications director. Now, 2 men aggressively, verbally assaulting a young lady in City Hall who works for City Hall. And she was still very professional. She said, Mayor, just go the other way.
Right.
Walk the other way.
Right.
Which I did. I walked the other way, walked all the way around and got into my office. I'm agitated because I'm like, I don't believe these guys. I said, someone call my officer up here so we can get these guys out the building. Next thing I do, I look up, the door's open. Here comes that council person. And I said to them, I told you.
Get out.
Leave, get out. And now you're aggressively, once again, verbally assaulting my communications director, while the other council person sheepishly stands to the side and says nothing. Now, if the shoe was on the other foot, I'd have been locked up. If I would have done that, they'd been ready to lock me up and throw away the key.
Absolutely.
But because I defend passionately, especially there are a lot of ladies up there in that area that work for the city. And I'm gonna stand passionately and defend them. I told him, I said, you can never come back up in here.
Right.
Jeff Coles, I'll never forget his name.
Fox News.
Fox News.
How you doing, Amanda? Right. I know exactly what you're talking about. Right. Whenever anybody attacks the people in my office, I'm ready for whatever. Right. So when you're in charge, when you're a man, you demand respect for the people in your office and for you. And like I said when we started this, I give you your flowers because you have been in politics for 30 plus years. That's not something that we see every day, right? And I always said you should have regardless of how people feel about you, you have done something that no one else has done, right? You show children what they can be, that they can dream to be the mayor, right? State representative, right? And you can be a force in your community. So I thank you for that, right? I do. And I want you to know that, I respect you as a man and everything that you're doing for the city of Chester. For the people that are watching this live right now and feel as though the mayor is not doing a good job, I say ask questions and get your answers, right? He came here of his own volition. He saw me. He's like, yo, I want to come through here. I want to talk to you, and I appreciate that, right? So May 16th is the day. Anything you want to say before you get out of here, man?
Sure. And I've always had an open door policy. I'm not the greatest. If it wasn't for Miss Amanda.
Right.
This social media thing with me, I'm old school.
Right.
I'm hands on. Let's talk.
Right.
You can come to my office. I'll come to your office. You can come to my house. I go to your house. That's how I do it. It's because of Miss Amanda that I'm more dealing with social media, and social media can be a curse and it can be a blessing.
It could.
It can be a curse and it can be a blessing. And I try to use it as much as a blessing as I possibly can, because we are our own worst enemies sometimes, and we are so quick to put one another down rather than lift one another up. Listen, I'm running because I want to lift this community up.
Right.
You'll never hear me. You'll never hear, in all my years, you'll never hear me put this city down. When I was a state rep and I stood on that House floor and I talked about the 159th, my main focus was the city of Chester. As a mayor, as a pastor, my main focus is the city of Chester. I want to lift this city to heights that it's never been seen before. Do want to say this too. I'm hoping that through the tragedy of those babies, if that's what they were, that it brings this community closer together, that something good comes out of it. Has to. Brings this community together like never before. Has to. If that doesn't do it, I don't know what will. I don't know what will. And that is the prayer. I'm running because my commitment. I'm running because of my experience. Nobody else who is running for mayor has the experience, not only the experience, but has the partnerships that I have. And I'm running because I refuse to let anyone come to me, try to bribe me to step aside so that they might bring others from outside to come and push Chester residents out. I'm running because of my commitment to this community.
I thank you for that. I definitely do. Man, it's Uncle P, cmpradio.net, man. May 16th, you go out, you cast your vote. I'm not telling you who to vote for. And I don't do that.
Thaddeus Kirkland.
cmpradio.net does not do that, right? But what we do is hold a forum where we can talk to the people that are running so you can find out whether they service you or whether they offer you anything. I want to thank you for stopping through.
Thank you, man.
And keep on doing what you're doing, man. cmpradio.net is your boy, Uncle P. Make sure you tune in at 6. We'll have Desiree Potts. She's running for magisterial district judge. And again, right, it's silly season. Things happen. People say things, man. Make sure you're doing your duty, man, and find out who you're voting for. Don't just vote just to vote. Vote and make sure that person speaks to you and speaks to your family and speaks to the future of the city of Chester, man. It's cmpradio.net, man. It's your boy, Uncle P. Peace.
Thaddeus Kirkland.